welcome everyone to another episode of Let's Make a Game. I hope you're having good holidays and it is time to continue with our little game right here. What we have so far is nice and fine, but I think it's time to implement something graphic-wise which requires actual code to implement. So let's have a quick look at the game. As you can see, the terrain generation works as per usual, but it is clearly a tile-based game. There's no smoothness applied to it whatsoever, and that's what we kind of want to attempt to change in today's episode. So we will have to make some kind of a tile sprite set, which allows us to add corners, to add straight lines, and make a smooth transition between the sand and the grass layers. So well, that's what we will try to achieve in today's episode. What I have done in order to do so is create a script, assign sprites. We have created this in previous episodes already, and if you don't remember, this script is applied to everything which requires assigning sprites in the first place. So if we have a look back at the game, we can see that, for instance, those trees are not on the same image index. Also, the ocean tiles, the sand tiles and the grass tiles have this script applied to it. Alright, that's good and fine. Let's open up that script and have a closer look at it. I'm not exactly sure if I showed you this before already, but basically I've just used the object index in order to determine on which object it is and then what it has to do, and I believe I've shown you this. Anyways, what I have done here is added all of the tiles, so if it is a grass tile set, then the image speed should be 0 at the moment. If it is a ocean tile set, the image index should be 10, and I'm gonna explain you that in just a brief second. Image speed as well should be 0 and the alarm 0 should be 1, but this is going to be more towards the end of the episode. What we focus on right now is the sand tile set. I set this also to image index 10 and to image speed 0. The image index 10 in my sprite is actually a full sand tile. So let me just show you that very briefly. Now you can do this in many ways, but what I have done is basically create a very simple sprite, and we can have a look at it right now. Now this image consists out of what I believe are all the possibilities which you can encounter, which is, for instance, a full sand tile set as right here, or we can also have corners such as those, and of course these are all 64 by 64. So here are all of the corners basically. Then here we have the outer corners. This one right here, for instance, would be a straight line. So this would be on the left side of the island. We want one of those so that we have a smooth transition between sand and grass. Also right here we have a full grass tile, which we are also going to require. In certain situations we want the sand tile to actually turn into a grass tile, because there are no possibilities to apply any of those other squares. But anyways, I've done this with the sand tile set, and I've also done it with the actual ocean tile set. So the ocean tile will behave the exact same way, but it will make the transitions between sand and ocean and not between grass and sand. Now what we have to do in order to actually import those guys is save them as a PNG file or whatever, and we're gonna go back to the program and actually look into the sand tile set right here. We're gonna go to edit sprite, and right here I've already imported this, and now this is important that we leave it at the exact same order it is. What you want to do is actually go to file and create from strip. Now, I believe you cannot see this, but a browser popped up which lets me choose those images. So now I'm gonna choose the sand tile set, and we will be presented with this image, loading a strip image. Now if you remember, our image size or our tile size is 64 by 64, so we have to adjust this. Also, number of images is 3 times 5, so 15, and also images per row we want to have 5. And there we go, all the tiles are divided up for you, and you can simply press OK and you will have it in this order. Now what I recommend you to do is simply go ahead with the snippet tool, take a picture of this, because you will need to reference this a lot. Okay, now this doesn't concern us any longer, so let's save it, and we're also gonna close this off. Okay, now so let's get to the coding part. Okay, back in the assign sprites on the create event of the sand tile set, we want to set the image index to 10 because first of all we want it to be a full sand tile, and you can see image index 10 is a sand tile. Also we want to set the image speed to 0 so that it doesn't flicker through the images. And now it's time to set up a bunch of variables. Now we want to spare ourselves a bit of coding, so we're gonna create variables which are going to check for each directions for an instance place in our case. So x plus global.tilesize, y object grass tile set. So it's just going to check for a grass tile set which is to the right. Also we're gonna check for the left, instance place xy plus global.tilesize object grass tile set, and of course fix that. We also want to do this for the up direction, we want to do this for the down direction. Then we are gonna need right down, left up, right up, and I believe that's all the directions we really need. Y should be minus global.tilesize object grass tile set, and if we were smart we would probably copy this down just like so. Let's see, down we need a plus, right down we are going to need a plus and plus, left up we need a minus and minus, right up we need plus and minus, and left down we need minus and minus. No, actually minus and plus, yeah, that should be good. Right, so now we have all the directions in a very cute little variable, which will spare us a lot of typing. Okay, before we start, let's have a look inside the game once again. So for instance right here we have a grass tile to the left of this sand tile, which means we would probably want image index 9 to be activated, because it will make a smooth transition. On the other hand, this one right here, this tile is a little bit more difficult, because we first need to determine which ones are gonna be those tiles. This one should be image index 5, as you can see. Come on, make it 5. There we go. And then we probably want this to be image index 4 right here. This one here should of course also be a 9, and so on and so forth. Now this can be a little bit messy because only having a grass tile set to the left is not enough of a condition, because for instance this one here has also a grass tile set to the left but should be something else than 9. And that's where it kind of gets a little bit messy, but we're just gonna get through this and maybe some of you come up with an even better solution. So let's dive back into the code. First off, we are going to do the edges. So if there is a grass tile set down, we want the image index to be 3. And you can simply check up here what images we are actually applying. And we're just gonna leave it at that for the time being. We're also gonna say if right, we want the image index to be 7. Also, if left, we want the image index to be 9. Finally, if up, we want the image index to be 13. That should be good. Now, after applying those few lines of code, we should actually switch back to the game and just have a brief look what changed. And you can see a lot of stuff happened. For instance, the image index 13 is the clear winner on the bottom side because it is the last if statement we applied. For instance, this tile right here shouldn't be an image index 13, it could also be image index 9 because this condition is true as well, but because it is the last if statement, it is applied the last and therefore the winner in the end. Okay, I just realized that I made a few mistakes right here. For instance, this one should be like minus global tile size, but I'm sure you have seen that. Yeah, I think like that it should be alright. So let's start the game again and hopefully we'll come up with a slightly better result. Yeah, so you can now see that only very few tiles are still full sand tiles, and that is because no of the conditions we have applied, such as left, up, down or right, are true. We'll have to make additional conditions so all of those tiles are actually also satisfied. So that means we are gonna do the inner corners first. One of the inner corner would be, for instance, there is no grass tile to the right and there is no grass tile down, but there is a grass tile to the right and down. Then we want the image index to be 2. Next up, if there is no grass tile to the left and no grass tile down, but there is a grass tile to the left down, then we want the image index to be 4. If there is no grass tile to the right and no grass tile up, but there is a grass tile to the right up, then we want image index to equal 12. And the last inner corner would be image index 14, so if not left and no grass tile up, but grass tile to the left up, then we want image index to equal 14. Okay, we're almost there. Let's check once again back in the game. Alright, so as we can see now, everything has some kind of a sprite applied. There's not a single full sand tile left, which means no image index 10 so far is applied. But of course we have tons of mistakes because the conditions are not fully what we want them to be. For instance, this tile right here, we want this to be an image index 6. And for that we have to check certain conditions, such as is there a sand tile upwards, is there a sand tile to the left, and is there no sand tile downwards. Maybe we want to even check more conditions, but we want to check as few conditions as possible. We still have to do the outer corners though. Now a outer corner, for instance, would be image index 5. That's what I mean with outer corner. So that means if there is no grass tile up and there is no grass tile right and there is one down and there is also one to the left, then we want the image index to equal 5. If there is no up and no left and right and down, we want the image index to be equal to 6. Next one would be image index 1 probably. So if not left and not down and right and up, then we want the image index to be 1. And last but not least, image index 0. So if not right and not down and left and up, we want the image index to be 0. Okay, so unfortunately with all of these conditions our code is still not done. But we should still have a brief look at the game just so we know what we're dealing with at the moment. As you can see, a lot of it is already very smooth and looks a lot better than before. But of course there are a lot of mistakes which we still have to fix. For instance, these three guys we cannot possibly make smooth, so we better transfer them to be a full grass tile. But there will be even more difficult problems, such as this one right here, and here we have to change into a grass tile because we cannot possibly connect them smoothly with the tile set we have created. But that also means if those two guys are full sand tiles, we have to change this one from a corner piece into a image index 9, for instance. So there's a lot of conditions which could go wrong, and right here I'm just letting you know which corrections I have actually applied, because there's a lot of just, you know, having a look at the map, like spawning it over and over again and checking for the image index which has a wrong condition applied to it and just fix it. So let's actually make all of the corrections and make them in the order of the code. Right now we have each number, each image index represented only once, and this is very important. So everything that is image index 3 which has a mistake on it, we want to fix in this if condition. In my case I didn't have to fix anything for down and right because they have been overwritten anyways further down in the script. The first correction I'm making is with the image index 9. Namely, if there is also a grass tile to the right, which means it is surrounded by grass tiles from the left and the right, we want the image index to be equal to 8, which is a full grass tile. Also, if the image index equals 13, we want to check if left and right if there is a grass tile, or if there is a grass tile down, because in this case we also want the image index to be equal to 8. So I hope you can follow my kind of thought right here a little bit. Anyways, that's all of the corrections I wanted to apply to the edges. Now we want to go a little further, namely to image index 2, which is the first in the corner, and there are a few mistakes. Namely, we want to check if there is no grass tile to the left, but there is a grass tile up, then we want to be the image index 1, so we can actually form the corner. Also, if there is a grass tile to the left, but none up, we want it to be image index 5. We just have a look at the game, see what image indexes are wrong, and then we fix it. Okay, now I'm just gonna go a little faster through all of the corrections which I have applied, because there's quite a few of them. So if right down and not right, then we want the image index to be 3, and that is of course if it is already on image index 4. Also, if not right and up, we want the image index to be equal to 0. But right here, if it is image index 0, we have a other problem. We have a different condition which we have to check, namely if right down, then we want the image index to be equal to 8, which again is a full grass tile set. The last condition we have to check for image index 4 is if right and not up, then we want image index to be equal to 6. Next up, we check for image index 12. We have to make a bunch of corrections here as well. Namely, if not left and down, we want the image index to be equal to 6. Also, if not down and right down, image index to be equal 7. Yeah, I think that's right. And also within the 7 statement we have a few problems, namely if not left and left down, we want the image index to be equal to 6. Oh geez, it gets kind of complex right here, but that's fine. So we're back in the image index 12. There is one more mistake we have to fix, namely if there is a grass tile to the left, but none to the right, we want the image index to be equal to 0. And within that statement we also have a correction to make, namely right down, which is image index 8. There we go. Okay, I think with that we have already fixed quite a few problems, so why don't we go ahead and have a look back into the game and check it out. Oh yeah, so a few things are of course still wrong, which we will have to fix, but look at that, it is already much better. We have fixed a lot of issues, we have checked for a few conditions. Right here, for instance, we still have a problem because up here there's still a sand tile, which means it tried to make the corner right here. But of course we have to fix this as well. But you can see the basic principle behind it. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out a much more convenient solution, but I'm sure some of you might be coming up with something much better. Anyways, let's go ahead and fix image index 14, namely if right up, then we want the image index to be equal to 13. Also, in that statement, if right and not down, we want the image index to be equal to 1. Also, within the right up statement, we want to check for if not right and down, index equals 1. Okay, and then back to the image index 14. The next one should be not right and down, or left down and right. Then we want the image index to be equal to 5. Still within the image index 14 statement, if not down and left down, then we want the image index to equal 9. And within that image index 9 statement, we also want to check for the right down, because if there is a grass tile to the right down in those conditions, then we want the image index to be indeed 5. Also, within that statement, we still have a different condition, namely there could also be a grass tile to the right, which would mean we simply want to switch back to image index 8, which is a full grass tile. Holy cow, so quite a few corrections. I think I will actually provide that script also down in the description in case you need it. But I hope you get the basic gist. Anyways, let's continue with the outer corners. There are not a lot of corrections we still have to make. So if it is an image index 5, we want to check if there is a grass tile right up, and if there is, we want to change the image index to 8. Next, for the image index 6, we want to check if left up, which would mean we want to change it to image index 8 as well. If there are no other solutions, we're just changing them into grass tiles. Next up, for number 1, if left down, we want to change the image index to 8. And last but not least, if right down, we want the image index to be 8. Great, so that's all we had to do for the application of that script. Let's start the game once more and have a look at it. Oh yeah, so from the looks of it, we have fixed almost everything. There are still a few mistakes. For instance, one that I see right here. Now, in order to fix that, I would change the grass tile set into a different color so that I can actually see where all of my sand tiles are and in what conditions I will still have to change them. For instance, this one should definitely be a corner piece. But yeah, I think so far so good, it's not too bad. Now naturally we also want to apply this script to the ocean tiles, but that is kind of an issue. The reason for that is of course because the ocean tiles are being created together with the sand tiles, which means the sand tiles are not necessarily already there. So in order to solve that, I temporarily added a little tweak. I simply made it so that the create script or the assign script for the ocean tiles will pop at a later stage to make sure that all of the sand tiles are already being generated before the script pops off. Now right here you can see I've also already made the same texture basically with different colors, so now we have the ocean and sand tile. But what I have done right here for the ocean tile is simply set it to image index 10, which is an ocean, set the image speed to 0 and also set an alarm, so the alarm will immediately kick off. Let's actually have a look at set alarm. So we have been messing around with the assign sprites script, and what I've done is duplicate this script in a certain way and applied it to the alarm 0 of the ocean tiles, just because I want those guys to pop off a little bit later. If we have a look in the script, we can see that I'm just checking for the global world generation to be true, and if it is still generating the world, we simply want to set off the alarm once more. If the world generation is false, which means all of the tiles have been placed, then we are gonna apply the same script as we did before, but we're just gonna do it with a different tile set. But yeah, that is not the best solution in my opinion. I will have to try and find another solution. Maybe we'll still have to create all of the tiles together, but I think that will not get rid of the issue. So don't forget to apply the scripts to the sand tile and the ocean tile accordingly on the create or the alarm 0 event. And the create event will make sure that the ocean alarm 0 event actually kicks off. So let's have a final look at the game and the results of our efforts. And there we go, a much smoother terrain. Also, all of the ocean tiles behave the exact same way, so we have a little bit of a thicker sand layer. There are still a bunch of problems we will have to fix, but oh man, I think for a first attempt it is actually kind of a good progress we've made. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. A little bit of a different thing to deal with the graphics. Every now and then we are going to do this, obviously, because graphics are a very important part of the game. After all, it should be appealing, it should maybe also be moddable in some ways, so everyone can create sprites. Maybe in a next graphics episode we will take care of some kind of a movement animation for the villagers. Of course, you're always welcome to actually send in your own designs, and maybe they will even make it into the game. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, have a great time, and hopefully I'm gonna catch you the next time. Bye bye.